Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Um, in the previous lecture, we have sort of like discussed about noise measurement. We have gone through up until example 12, but there are some correction on example 11 and 12, which I would like to sort of like discuss it here. So if you can still remember, example 11 and example 12 is all about calculating noise exposure, and I have mentioned in the class that in order to conduct the noise measurement, so generally we use a device that is called dosimeter, where the dosimeter will record and will measure the noise exposed to the user. And these are the type of dosimeter. Okay, if you can see here, it have LA max, LA average, whereby it will sort of like record what is the maximum decibel that is exposed to the user, and the average. If let's say you conduct the measurement for 8 hours, it will calculate what is the average decibel that the user use. So in order to use the dosimeter, so normally the dosimeter is placed on the shoulder, aligned with the ear. If you can see here, this is another example of dosimeter. If you can see, it is aligned. The microphone, this is a microphone. It is aligned with the ear of the sample. So let's look at example 11. Okay. In the previous lecture, I didn't go through the example carefully. But then when I look through, there is one statement that I skipped, which is it mentioned here that the measurement is paused during lunchtime. So for case 1, the working hours is 10 hours, morning break 20 minutes, lunch break 45 minutes, tea break is 20 minutes. And then employee was exposed to noise 87 decibel measured by dosimeter, and the measurement is paused during lunchtime. So what does it mean here? That means in the when the measurement is conducted for 10 hours, it is stopped during lunchtime, which is 45 minutes. So that means that in order to calculate the LEX and dose for 8 hours equivalent exposure, the time exposure is 10 hour minus 45 minutes, because the 45 minutes is represented by the lunch break where the noise measurement is paused. That is why the time exposed is only 9.25 hours. Instead of in the previous class, we calculated it around 8 hours something, because we minus the morning break and also the tea break. But it was stated here that the measurement is only paused during lunchtime. So the time exposed is 10 hours minus 45 minutes, which is equivalent to 9.25 hours. Okay, so neglect the example from the previous lecture. So the calculation is the same, whereby in order for you to calculate the equivalent noise exposure for 8 hours, the formula or the equation is still the same, where LEQ time exposed plus 10 log TE over TO. So the TE, okay, first thing you need to measure the TE. The TE is the working hours minus if the measurement is paused during a certain time, you must minus it. And for this case, we get 10 minus 45 minutes equals to 9.25 hours. So that is the TE. And then the LEQTE is being given in the example, where it mentioned that was exposed to noise 87 dBA. measured by noise dosimeter. So this is the LQTE. And once you use this equation, you will get the equivalent noise exposure for 8 hours. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, try to do it on by yourself. Okay, it's quite the same. It's just that in the previous lecture I mistakenly skipped this statement. All right, for example 12. Okay, there has been a mistake on example 12, whereby the working hours is actually 10 hours, not 12 hours. Okay, so please correct it in your lecture notes. I have also updated the lecture notes in your author, so you can download the revised version. Okay, so the working hours is 10 hours, the morning break is 20 minutes, lunch break 60 minutes, tea break 20 minutes. And it mentioned that the employee was exposed to noise of 87 decibel as measured by dosimeter. And then it mentioned that morning breaks, tea breaks, and lunch are taken at location within the workplace. So if you compare example 12 and example 11, okay, in example 11, it clearly mentions that the measurement was paused during lunch break. But for this case, there is no statement that mentioned that the measurement was paused. Therefore, we can assume that the measurement was taken for a whole 10 hours because it didn't mention that there is a break or whatsoever. So the measurement was 10 hours, which means that the TE is 10 hours. Okay, so if you look at the solution, in here it mentioned that the effective duration of time exposure is 10 hours. Why it is 10 hours? Because it didn't mention here that the measurement was paused either during lunch break, morning break, or tea break. So therefore, the measurement was conducted for the whole duration of working hours, which is 10 hours. So if you apply this equation, okay, the TE is 10 hours, and the LQTE is been given in the slide, which is 87 decibel. Therefore, you get the answer of 88 decibel. So if you compare between between the example 11 and example 12, okay, when there is no pause during the measurement, okay, you will get 88 decibel of noise exposure for 8 hours, equivalent noise exposure. But when they pause it during lunchtime, we get slightly less than 88, which is 87.6. So please read carefully, during your finals, read carefully the question and instruction. Okay, look through whether there is any statement whereby it paused the measurement during lunchtime, or an example whereby there is no pause during lunchtime or any other breaks. Okay, that is the only tricky part. So that's all. I think we have discussed how to solve example 11 and 12. So I wish all of you good luck, and please remember to score for your finals. Thank you very much.